Hello, BookTube, and welcome to an announcement video. Probably you're seeing announcement videos flooding your feed. The announcement is for a great BookTube event, which is now right on the horizon, just half a month away. And that event is June on the Range, created by Michael K Vaughan to celebrate Westerns, to celebrate Western fiction. The kind of thing that I'm sure you think of, whether you've read it or not, the gun-toting, horse-riding, hat-wearing fiction that, as so many of us say on June on the Range, when our enthusiasm gets the best of us, was once upon a time the most popular fiction genre of them all and ruled the roost. And whenever we say that, the romance genre pats us on the head and says, "Oh, that's nice. You go ahead and think that." Okay, fine. The romance genre has ruled the roost for 400 years and shows no signs of stopping. It still sells 2 books to any one kind of book anywhere else in the fiction world. But nevertheless, we're going to ignore that. we're going to ignore that. We're going to crow about Westerns for the month of June. Now, this is a Michael K Vaughan event, and I don't know if you're familiar with Michael's channel, but he's not big on being a drill master. He's in BookTube for the fun of it. And so there aren't much in the way of rules. Mainly, really, just, I'm sure that he would characterize it the same way. Not so much rules as encouragements. Because a lot of people are coming to June on the Range without having read Westerns before. So the 2 real encouragements are in the form of authors. That in the month of June, you really should read a Zane Grey novel. And above all, I think, you really should read a Louis L'Amour novel. Zane Grey and Louis L'Amour are 2 of the best-selling Western novelists in the genre's history. And Louis L'Amour is one of the best-selling novelists in history, just across the board. Zane Grey is very, very talented. Of course, I think as a wordsmith, actually as a prose stylist, he is much more talented than Louis L'Amour. But he has his longueurs. There are Zane Grey, even Riders of the Purple Sage, his masterpiece, which I believe is a Penguin classic. Even Riders of the Purple Sage has patches that just dramatically don't work. And that almost never happens in Louis L'Amour. So, the 2 main encouragements, they aren't rules, but the 2 main encouragements are that you read a Zane Grey novel and a Louis L'Amour novel for June, regardless of what else you do. And you will have time for that, because Zane Grey novels aren't all that long, and Louis L'Amour novels are impossible to stop reading. So you will be able to do that. But then there is, apart from that, an infinitude of stuff to read. An infinitude. Even I have not put my arms around it in years. I've been co-hosting June on the Range for years, and I have not begun to put my arms around it. Every June on the Range, I encounter people, a name. I will encounter a name of an author of some novel that I encountered at the Rattle, and I will read the novel, and I'll think, oh, there's something to that. That was pretty good. I wonder if this author wrote anything else. And invariably, the author wrote 200 books. 200 is the minimum. It's like the minimum entry fee to get in is to write 200 books. Some of them wrote twice that. And they're people that I never heard of before, which is wonderful. June on the Range is always a wonderful kickoff to that kind of learning, or larnin, as we say. Now, we have a great posse of co-hosts. I will leave them linked down below. It is a wonderful, wonderful group. We have people who live in the West. We have, among our posse of co-hosts, the author of a Western. And also, I believe that yours truly has been bitten by more rattlesnakes in West Texas than anybody else on our roster of co-hosts. I believe I've been bitten by every single species of them, including the really big ones. People always think, oh, a rattlesnake. Oh, it's like the garden snake that I've seen, only dangerous because it has a venom. But the big rattlesnakes, south of Abilene, they can get to be 6 feet long, and they know it. I'm not going to go on a diatribe about snakes or scorpions, which turn up in Western novels, of course. But that posse will be reading all over the map. So following June on the Range videos and looking back at the back catalog of previous years will be a lot of fun all throughout June. If you don't know the genre and you're maybe curious, you'll be getting lots of different viewpoints, lots of different vantage points of what they're reading and how people are making it. I plan on reading a lot of Westerns in June. I don't usually do TBRs for BookTube events because I read a lot. I don't have to parcel out my reading in a TBR. I can just say, I can just say for the month of June, okay, the free time, elective reading that I do in any given day. There's always a block of elective reading that I do in any day. The non-elective stuff is elective too, but you know what I mean. It's the new releases where I spend most of my time. That's the non-elective stuff. But there's a chunk of every day that is elective reading, and that is all over the map. But for BookTube events, I tend to dedicate 90% or more of that to the event. So that's what I'll do, and that's going to amount to at least a book a day. So I don't do a TBR, but I do have a concentration in mind to start with. Something that happened at random that I noticed on my shelves, and that is short stories. I noticed that I have now a number of Western short story collections. So I'll go through those before I do anything else. They will be the thing I burn off in my elective reading first before I go to novels. I'm hoping that this June on the Range doesn't turn out the way an earlier June on the Range did, where I had a whole ambitious idea of reading. Spread your net wide, read all these authors that you hear about but don't really know. And I ended up reading just Louis L'Amour almost exclusively for the whole of the month. Didn't object to it at all, but still. So I want to show you the anthology that I have here in case you haven't watched them piecemeal on my channel. Like William McLeod Rain, he is a Western author. I have read a lot of his books, but I have a lot more of his books to read. He edited this, Western Stories, with this great cover. Where the guy's spilling his milk, I guess, because she's whipping him. This has just, a dozen authors that just contribute to this. Then Gunsmoke Yarns, edited in heavy, heavy, heavy air quotes by Gene Autry, who never came within a country mile of this book. But it also there's a map back of one story, but it also has a whole selection of stories. And then these two that I just recently found, these are both edited by the same person, Leo Margulies. These are popular library anthologies of Western stories for 2 adjoining years, with just 10-page stories from a bunch of authors. And there's a reason why I'm centering on short stories first here. That I'll finish up with that because I'm adding a wrinkle to my June on the Range this year. But also I have these other anthologies. I think both of them found in the company of David Murphy. This is a great big leather-bound thing. Look at that. Classic Westerns. And this is really, really interesting because it has a woman, which is going to be downright embarrassing for not the reason you might think. So this has 2 Zane Greys, Lone Star Ranger and the Mysterious Rider. Sorry. It has a Max Brand. It has 2 Max Brands, he's another prolific Western writer. This one has Gunman's Reckoning and The Untamed. This has The Whole of the Virginian by Owen Wister, which is this month's Roger's Cheap Old Book Club pick. On Mike's channel, Roger Hotep has the cheapest book club on the internet because all the books are free on Project Gutenberg. And to coincide with June on the Range, the pick this time is The Virginian by Owen Wister. When you say that to me, bitter smile. So, it was once upon a time one of the most famous Westerns in the world. I think it was. I don't remember my dates really. Once Riders of the Purple Sage came along, The Virginian was no longer the most famous. There's also Shane. And then Louis L'Amour took off with, and had just the Western guy to read. But The Whole of the Virginian is in here, and those are standard picks. You might say, what is embarrassing about that? The embarrassing thing is that the other book in this collection is O Pioneers by Willa Cather, who can write all the rest of these people under the table easily. Easily under the table. O Pioneers is stark and wise and beautifully written. And none of the men in this book do that. Or could. In a million years with a pound of amphetamines. So that's a little embarrassing. Leave it to the lady writers. Right? They show up and they embarrass us all. Alright? Up top. So I don't know. In the spirit of June on the Range, I don't know if I want to reread Oak Pioneers because it's just not fair. It's just not fair at all. Maybe I want to just stick with, when you say that, bitter smile. Maybe I just want to stick with Owen Wister. It's so embarrassing. The gap, the sheer gap is anyway, that's one anthology. And then I have this thing. This is the big book of Western action stories. And it has tons of stuff in it. Who is in here? I bet all the names that I've mentioned are in here. Ernest Haycock, Max Brand, again, Alan LeMay, Luke Short, who's another one that I've read. I've read a few of his now. Lots of names in here that I don't know. All of whom, again, wrote 200 books. Oh my God, there's a lot of names in here that I don't know. Ed Gorman, Lewis Patton, Will Cook, Robert Easton, Dan Cushman, Frank Bonham, Dwight Bennett Newton. Steve Frazee I've read. I've read one or two of his over the course of June on the Range. Wow, all right, great. This has a lot of authors that I don't know. So I will be starting with these anthologies first before I move on to novels. And there's a reason for that, apart from the fact that I'm gonna get a lot of great name suggestions. And that reason is because I'm going to add an element to June on the Range this year. I'm going to write a Western story, my very first one. The Killing of Rosie Billing. Set in the little West Texas town of Chicory. I'm going to write that in the course of June on the Range. So in addition to making videos about whatever I'm reading, I'll also be making videos about the process of writing a Western story. Now, we have a Western novelist as a member of our cast, but I've never tried it before. So I'm very interested to see what kinds of things it makes me do. When you adapt to any kind of genre, the genre makes you do things. It makes you research things. It makes you plot things in a certain way, pace things in a certain way. And I never know ahead of time what that's going to be. So I'm looking forward to it. So if I like the results of The Killing of Rosie Billing, then I will put it on Steve Reads so that it's available for people to read. But so I'm going to add that element to June on the Range of writing a short story. I figure writing a novel in a month is probably a little extravagant. I do have other things. I know I sit on this fainting couch with no pants on every day, but I do have other things to do. But a short story I can manage. And I know the story. I worked it out in a car in the rain. So I know the story. I know all the parts of it, the beginning, the middle, and the end. I know all the players in it. So it's just a question of, how do you write a Western? I don't quite know how to do that. So I'm going to give that a try. But anyway, that is June on the Range for 2025. And I hope that you all agree to saddle up and join us. Westerns are easy to get. The Virginian by Owen Wister is not by any means the only Western that's free on Project Gutenberg, but they're also easy to come across. I guarantee your library has Louis L'Amour if they have nothing else. And we still have time. If you want me to look for Westerns for you, I'd be happy to do it. My bookstore gets everything. So anyway, I'm adding this to the crowd of announcement videos. I will leave a link to all of the co-hosts down below. It's going to be a lot of fun. It kicks off the summer well. So I'll wrap this up, and I hope to see you all down the trail apace for June on the Range. Thank you, BookTube.